see if we can at least go to YouTube.
Yeah, I just got a message that it's been streamlined.
Okay. All right. So meeting is now streaming live on
That's
YouTube. We got that. See, Sister Urani has joined us. So this is map 5, September 1, 2025. Assalamu alaikum, that is the peace that only comes from the Creator. To all of our viewers and participants in this program. Fleming, do you want to open us up?
Well, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum to everyone on this first day of September 2025. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. The translation according to Yusuf Ali's translation, with the name of Allah, merciful Redeemer, merciful benefactor. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord and cherisher of all the worlds. Merciful Redeemer, merciful benefactor, master of all the systems of knowledge. Thee do we worship and thine aid we seek. Show us the straight way. The way of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy grace. Not those who go astray, nor those who incur thy wrath. Amen. Right.
Okay. Map 5, Muslim American Power 5. So, Sister Cheryl, are we breaking the ice today?
Yeah, overweight figure skater.
Okay.
I hope you didn't hurt yourself. I hope my sister did not hurt herself.
Well, I'm not overweight. I'm just talking about the figure skater.
All right. Oh, I know. Okay, I got you now.
You said we're gonna break the ice. Yes. Feliz Día de los Trabajadores. Feliz Labor Day. Day of the Worker.
Yes.
And well, I look at labor a little different. Sister, as a mother, we've labored since actually bringing life into the world. We had to go through labor.
That's for sure.
So yeah, so I'm not gonna apologize, but sorry, not sorry. This is not just about work. This is about not just the job that pays your mortgage, but the work we do in community, the work we do in family, is all labor. So my question to you today, besides, well, we can do a political roundup in a minute because I really want to talk about what's been happening. So my question to you today is, in the words of Marvin Gaye, what's going on? What's going on? So you can see where I'm going. What's your song of what's going on? What's your song? Pick one. Any era. What's going on? It's as true today as it was back whenever that was done. Before my time, but I figure Marvin Gaye is everybody's time. So
I had to jump out there before Fleming gets my song. I
Okay.
can't do anything. But I'll say, Sam Cooke, a change is going to come.
Ah, Sam.
All right.
That's a good one.
Mm, mm,
Brother,
mm.
you on the
Boy, oh
clock.
boy.
You're on the
War.
clock.
What is it good for?
Well, okay.
What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Said
Nothing.
again now.
Ah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Brother Ishmael, welcome to the show, sir. And sister, that's Imrani, right? Yeah. Go ahead, brother. Take yourself off mute. Tell us your song.
I don't. I was just gonna say assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome. I mean, I'm glad I could be here.
Absolutely.
And I think my song would be, even though it might be the opposite of really what's going on, the revolution would not be televised.
Okay, Jill Scott Aaron.
The last
I
poets.
love
All
it.
right.
Yeah, Jill Scott. Guess what? Some of us are over here preparing for the revolution. Shh. Don't tell nobody. Sister, and it's Sister Imrani, isn't it?
Yes,
Sister Amata.
Amatullah Imrani is there. You want to unmute yourself?
Assalamu alaikum.
Well, they come
I'm not ready for the
for
song.
the icebreaker.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right, you think about it, then come and let me know.
Okay, then. Yeah, I
I'm
like
keeping.
I like a lot of the message songs. I like things from the impressions back in the day, and so I was just
So
I don't have one right now.
Okay, well, pull one out. Just
All right.
you can come back in and give it to us.
All right.
I'm keeping notes.
Well, put Curtis Mayfield on there too, because he had a lot of songs that I used to try to imitate back in the day.
A lot of songs.
I'm sorry. The only
Mayfield.
one I know from him is the Shaft theme. What others?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! You're telling your youth now.
Deceives her. Wow.
Oh man.
Wow! Come on now.
Oh man. He was our civil
Name the
rights
song.
voice
I
for a
might know
while
it.
there.
You might know the song.
The
I might know the
Shaft song,
song.
I believe, is Isaac Hayes, not Curtis Mayfield.
See, there you go.
Yeah. Curtis was the Superfly one, but long before the Superfly. Long before that though, he was very popular. One was what Color Him Father. He had oh my God, he had a whole series of songs that go along with our civil rights movement.
Right.
We're a Winner. We're a Winner is really a very popular one. We're a winner. Oh, I won't go into the song element of it, but he talked about our struggles, being a winner, regardless of the circumstances.
Don't know.
But the one about the father figure, really, he said, what color him father because of what all you went through as a father. And this person done so much for his family. And then he said another one about color him love.
Yeah.
And the elements of love that were very, very popular at that point, I think
So the
color
first
him
one,
love.
So what was the other one? Color him love, color him father?
Yes. And then We're a Winner. We're a Winner. Well, I won't go into the lyrics. I can't sing. I can speak to a song though. I can I can speak the lyrics.
So you mean to tell me that Missy Elliott didn't do Superfly first? I'm just playing. I know Superfly. But Missy Elliott's Superfly was super duper fly. Just the same.
Right. But he was with a group called The Impressions. So look some of their songs up. Very powerful songs.
Yes,
Yeah,
Impressions.
Ishmael. Don't know it, but I'll look it up.
The Impressions, okay. Go to University Google and look him up.
Yeah. I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. Isaac Hayes. Yeah. See, I remember that song. Shaft. Theme from Shaft. They played it in the remake with Sam Jackson. Now we got Brother Sharif on. Brother Sharif. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, walaikum assalam, everyone. I just got on a couple of minutes ago.
Yes.
Talking about the music world.
Yeah, so what the question of the day is taking off on the theme from Marvin Gaye with what's going on. That's how you have
Yeah.
to say it. You can't say what's going on. You have to say what's going on. And you have to give us your song. Right now, let me tell you what we have. We have Sam Cooke, Change is Gonna Come. We have what is it good for?
Mhm.
The revolution will not be televised. Super duper fly. I changed the name. We are winners. Is that right?
Yes, winners. Yes.
We are winners, and then some other ones by Mr. Curtis Mayfield and the group The Impressions. And then I just slipped in the theme from Shab because it sound good.
Mm.
What you got for us, Brother Sharif?
Wow, y'all covered quite a bit of the stars. I mean, especially when Marvin Gaye, with what's going on. I mean, that was a classic. And while he was singing that song, they were showing the different areas with Detroit and California, all these places. And it was so timely. What's
Yes.
going on? Because a whole lot of stuff was going on, man. I mean, Marvin Gaye, he really hit it. There was Isaac Hayes, Walk On By. Wow.
Mhm.
Oh man, Isaac Hayes, yes. Yeah, we had some real winners in the music world.
Yes.
Hmm.
Wait, did somebody else sing Walk On By too? I'm thinking it was a woman's voice.
Yeah,
Dionne
Or was
Warwick
that
Dionne
also
Warwick
sang
made
it.
it
Yeah,
popular.
Dionne Warwick. Yeah.
that's
that's
it.
right.
See?
That's
See,
right.
I knew, I
She made
knew,
it
I knew, I
popular.
knew.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw both of them, Isaac Hayes and Dionne Warwick. It was in LA at the Continental, I think the Continental International Hotel. Across from there is a like a theater in the round. And
Mm.
really, I just went there because I was in town on business and there was nothing else to do. So I said, okay, let me go see them. That was, I think, one of the best shows I've ever seen. I really have learned to appreciate Isaac Hayes as a musician and the charisma and the energy between the two of them on stage. It was a really surprisingly a fantastic show for that
Mm.
time. So he is a very accomplished um, producer and writer. If you look at his catalog, he did a lot of good things.
Yes.
It's,
And
yeah.
Stax Museum in Tennessee has a nice display of his early life, and the music
Mm,
contributions he made. They even have his car on
mm,
exhibit.
mm,
It's really something to walk through to see.
mm,
There's one I've got to add to the mix too. She was my sentimental person I thought I would fall in love with and marry. That was Diana Ross. Stop in the Name of Love. I learned how to swing
Mhm.
dance on that song, and I just knew I was going to marry her one day.
mm.
Oh, really?
It
Better
didn't quite
not
didn't
listen
quite
to
work out
Sandra
that way
hear this.
though.
Better not listen to
uh,
Sandra hear this, brother. You living dangerously on Labor Day.
yes.
Dangerously.
Mm,
Well,
Man.
I want to give you a few more before I turn this over. But so I do remember, and I like this song because I'm an environmental scientist, so I love Mercy, Mercy Me.
Mm,
Oh,
mm.
yes, that's right.
Oh boy.
Uh-huh.
Marvin Gaye. And he called it
Oh
the
yes.
ecology song. He called it the ecology song. And it's still just as relevant today as it was. I don't know what year it was made, but um early 70s maybe. I just know that. But and even Michael Jackson had an Earth song. I think it was called the Earth Song in the 90s.
Mm,
Which just considering what's happening in the world and the earth and environmentally, that's the big thing. His birthday is the same day as my mom, August 29th.
mm,
Happy birthday,
mm.
mama. The other ones I was going to say. So now, Ishmael, I'm gonna bring it back to the generation I know best. Um, I really liked Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah.
Where is the love? Yeah, where's the love? That was a remake,
That's
I
a
know,
remix.
right?
That was a remake.
That's a remix.
Yes.
I know, but
Yes.
Yeah.
who was the original?
Was it Marvin Gaye and Tammy?
Tammy Terrell? It may be. I'm gonna look it up. I think so. I think you're right. And then the other one is I liked I really like Childish Gambino. And he said, "This is America." You might remember the video.
Yeah, very powerful video. Yes, I remember it.
He had a very powerful video. It's about gun violence, police brutality, and like what's our overall state of race relations in the US. The video was pretty shocking, but it caught your attention, right? And it was good. And that was This is America, but and he also, he's got a few of them that are really that will really catch you and pretty much capture what's going on. Like right now that there's one about summer that he had, feels like summer, and that's about the climate crisis, climate change, climate crisis. So that's these are my picks, and these where I wanted to start us today because I want to. Oh no, I know. There's one that I used to hear when I worked at Sony. We were working on their contract, and I used to hear it, and I didn't know. And my mom was like, "What do you mean? It's one of the classics." It was John Lennon. Imagine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to love that song when I was young. And I didn't know how old the song was at first, but it is it's one of his best-selling songs, and he's just talking about what if we, the utopian vision of a peaceful world and people not chasing money and, basically the work we do. So I wanted to leave that one last. So my second question for you before we move on is,
Cheryl.
yes.
Y'all remember this one?
Are you
We
playing
can't hear it.
something? We
Yeah,
can't hear it.
it's not coming through, brother.
Not coming?
No, sir.
Can you hear it now?
No.
You got to
Turn it
sing
all
it
the way
for
up.
us.
Yeah, sing it for us.
Sing it for us. Sing it for us.
Uber and buy a suitcase. Try to find a warm place to spend the night.
All right. All
Is that
right.
Brooke Benton?
Yes. I know
Is
that
that
one very
Brooke
well.
Benton?
Heavy rain falling.
Oh.
Seems I hear your voice calling. It's all right.
It's a rainy night in Georgia. Hey.
What is the name of it?
A rainy
It's a
night in Georgia.
Oh, yes,
rainy
yes.
night in
Is that
Georgia.
Ray Charles?
Is that Ray
No,
Charles?
that's Brooke
A
Benton.
rainy night in Georgia.
See, Ishmael, you and I say the same thing.
I'm thinking right.
Oh boy.
I had Georgia on my mind. I guess Ray Charles. Did Ray Charles sing that one?
I think he
No,
did.
Yeah, I mean, he may have had it on one of his albums.
Okay, I'm gonna look up that one. Perfect. So, Brother Sharif, since you're the last one to talk, here's my second question to you guys before we move on. Is on the theme of that John Lennon song, Imagine. Now, I don't need a khutbah. I don't want nobody to give me a whole lecture. I just want to know, what do you imagine for us, for our community, our ummah? What do you imagine?
Well, I would say what I imagined on that one. We were, my second wife, we were on 72nd Street in Manhattan at that time, having dinner. And we came outside man, and all these people was on the street. And we started walking and asked what's happening. Said John Lennon has just been shot.
Hmm.
Mm.
That's my recollection of exactly what happened when he was killed that night.
Mm.
And you were near where he was killed.
Yeah, but we're right. We
Mhm.
was right on the same block.
Right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. It's on the same block. We having lunch. I mean, having dinner. The hotel was called the Dakota, a big building.
Right.
You know, most celebrities live there. And we came out, and all these people outside saying John Lennon has just been shot.
Mhm.
That's my recollection. Thank y'all. Take my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Mm.
So I'm gonna go back and forth between the audience and us. So Brother Fleming, what would you imagine for us, sir?
Mm. I guess in a sense it's a type of utopia, but I imagine the human value of every human being being lifted up and honored with nobility and value uh, around the world internationally. So we don't have such barbaric treatment of human beings and such disregard for the humanness. That would be a vision I would love to see materialize, and that we pull away from the color scheme of Satan about human beings. And I'll stop there. I want to try to give you a straight answer.
Thank you. I like that. Uh, Brother Ishmael, what do you think? What's your imagine?
Inshallah, this is more. I'm hoping this is the more realistic
You're kind of breaking up, Brother Ishmael.
things. It's behind closed doors.
Say that last part again. Something about moral things behind closed doors.
Right? Can y'all hear me any better? Or still bad?
Yes, yes,
That's
That's
yes.
better.
better. That's much better.
No, I was saying, hopefully, we can get back to at least the point where if we are doing immoral things, it's behind closed doors and not just in the public, like it's okay. I think that's one
Mhm.
step toward that. To me, that'll be almost a utopia where you
Mhm.
know, where you used to do things. You had to go to some secret club and they kept everything, closed. But to the public, it wasn't an influence that was okay. You would have to go out searching for those kind of things. So that's what I
Yes,
would say.
I like it. Thank you. Sister Amrani, what you say you?
Yes, and the question at first I thought you said our Ummah, so I was focusing on our Muslim community, but it seemed like the answers are about the community as a whole.
Mhm.
Was that the question?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Either one.
either one.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess for the imagine for our Ummah, the community of Imam Muhammad would be for us to study, examine the things that he has laid out for us, more of the practical things. And I know he always said that, we as women focus more on the practical things, but I want us to continue to see how to make things work. Okay, not just the theory. That to me would be beautiful, as we would take those theories and the teachings, and each one we say, well, okay, how can we make this as practical as possible? So to me, that would be like a utopia to me in the community when we're actually seeing how to apply those things more.
I like it. Thank you. Sister Amatullah.
Okay, I would say two things there is a connection. I would say if we're looking at the global Ummah, meaning the global Muslim family, I would say the elimination of poverty and war. because I think that the drive of greed that exists in this world society has, just driven us to what the Bible has labeled as the hallmark of these days of wars and rumors of wars. But if we could eliminate poverty and wars, that so much would be better in this world.
I like it. I would just say what Nelson Mandela said, that poverty is created by man and it can be alleviated by man.
For sure.
Mine is actually pretty simple, and it's for the global Ummah, Muslims and non-Muslims. It's the elimination of certain weapons, especially around schools, places of worship, and hospitals.
Mm.
Because what happened again last week is just unacceptable. It's heartbreaking to know that young children, their first week of school, and at a religious institution on top of that, can be gunned down in their school. That one gets me because, not just as a parent, but it just seems patently unfair. They can't protect themselves. So, when adults get into their fighting wars, that's an adult thing. But that 6-year-old and that 8-year-old who were killed last week, they weren't Republican or Democrat or independent. They weren't, spewing hate or anything else. They were just going to school. So for me, it's very similar to what Ishmael said, that, there used to be some rules about this, right? If you're going to do something, they try to stay in the dark, but now everything's out front. But there also used to be rules about killing people. You didn't beat up old people. You didn't. And I'm not saying beating up anybody is right or killing anybody is right, but there were some rules. You didn't kill children. You didn't kill old people. You didn't rape or abuse elderly. You didn't rape or abuse small children. And if it happened, and it had to be discovered. Not this. Every month we're facing this. So I wanted to say that. And I'm glad I have all of these. I took notes from everyone, because I think it will help us shape our discussions on policy over the next few months as we get ready to go into election season, and keeping foremost on our minds that you can't legislate morality, but you can mandate policy that prevents certain actions. With that, over to you, sir.
Well, even before we get started, thank you so much. I want to suggest that we do something that I've suggested for the whole weekend. I've been in 4 different group settings, and we always started off with a moment of silence for those children who are in a posture of prayer, and someone walks up with 3 different firearms and shoots 120 rounds inside of a church setting while they're in the prayer posture. It's almost unimaginable that someone have that mindset. But if we don't mind, those of us that have the prayer tendency, please let's have a moment of prayer for those children, their parents, and those that are injured from that catastrophe against innocent souls, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay, so our theme for today, inshallah, is solutions and strategies for maximizing political influence. Solutions and strategies for maximizing political influence. Now, we've invited Imam Wahid out of the Charlotte, North Carolina area, not Charlotte, pardon me, Durham, Raleigh area. He works at Duke University as a chaplain, and he's organized a fantastic program at the end of this month in the that area of North Carolina. It's a very structured interfaith almost ceremony, an extension of celebrating Imam Warthy Muhammad's 50th anniversary of leadership for us. And I hope he comes on a little later on in the program. If he's not already on, his area code is 919. So if he comes on, please let me know, and I'll let him make his announcements and have a discussion of the program coming up.
Okay.
But at the top of the program, I wanted to mention two other activities I was involved in this week. One was entitled the inaugural gala dinner and program sponsored by the Nigerian, got to get a look closer, my eyes aren't as good as they used to be, the Association of Nigerian Physicians in the Americas. It was entitled Faith Meets Medicine. And it was designed to bring children in to realize the importance of having medicine in their lives along with their faith traditions. Two people that I'm familiar with in the area sort of co-sponsored the whole event, and they asked me to sort of help them invite some people who would be influencers in the area to participate. So the mayor came out, some of the elected officials came out to sort of cut the ribbon, and a lot of youth were involved. It was a one-day affair, all day Saturday from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. And they asked me to conduct one of the youth council sessions. And as always, when I talk to youth, I always start off with, what is your name? And try to identify them individually for their worth just as a human being. And then we talk about the impact of drugs in their lives and how drugs try to take away their name and identity if you allow yourself to be influenced by that, whether friend or foe. And then you had some positions to talk about the technical aspects of drugs in their lives, et cetera. But it was very well attended. And I had no idea before this that we had so many Nigerians in the area. I was familiar with the Liberian Association because I worked with them, but there's a large Nigerian population in the Triad area, meaning Winston-Salem, High Point, and Greensboro. And they have chapters from the same medical association group. And they've invited me to come over to Greensboro for another event. But it's called, just for the sake of our audience, the Association of Nigerian Physicians in the Americas. Uh, Very interesting group. About 50% of them were sisters, which is very, very impressive, medical doctors. And so we had a little exchange about my familiarity with Lagos and some of my friends that I met in graduate school. One was called Christine. We were in graduate school together, fixed my very first uh, Nigerian meal. And we'll stop right there. But that was years ago.
You are treading on some dangerous
The,
territory.
the plantain was good. It was absolutely delicious. Me and Cassandra were both invited to the house. We had a good time. We stayed in touch for a long time, even after I left Arizona. We were both in graduate school back in 1977. We had a wonderful experience with that group, and they saw the need to give me this little plaque for lifelong, uh, you know, participation in their group to try to make them more known in the Winston-Salem area, which I greatly appreciated. And on another note, by the grace of Allah, I was nominated to be the Muslim Man of the Year by Mosque Cares over the weekend. They had the 36th annual convention, very well, organized, well attended for a virtual program like that. But I was honored to be recognized and given this huge plaque by the Mosque Cares 36th annual convention. And it really surprised me, to be perfectly honest, because I was not campaigning or anything like that at all. Believe me, not at all. And so when I got the indication they had voted me in for that, I said, well, alhamdulillah. I mean, I'm getting older, or what's happening with this situation here? But I was grateful to Allah for the recognition, and I was glad to be able to participate in it. They had some wonderful presenters, and we did a workshop entitled "Thriving in 25 and Beyond: Know Your Constitution." Me and the councilman from Jersey City, no, Atlantic City, New Jersey, uh, Councilman Kaleem Shabazz. So we shared the presentation. And it was very well received, had Q&A at the end of the program. And we talk also about what are some of the solutions and strategies that we can employ to make a difference in the political environment that we're in today. What can we do? And by we, I mean those with like-minded people, as well as our own mind. What can we do specifically in terms of strategies? What can we do in terms of offering solutions to our current situation in the political arena? And we gave several examples in that regard. The first bottom line was keep your faith posture always. No matter what you do, maintain your faith posture because that will preserve your sanity, especially in the political world today. Because if you don't have a strong faith posture, it's very easy for the winds to blow and push you in one direction or the other. And I shared with them that, I was blessed to be in North Africa at Mauritania for the North African Peace Conference. And they were basically talking about one thing, eliminating extremism and faith to solve political problems. That was the whole purpose of the 3-day conference we had over there. And it is an issue across the board. And at that conference, it's a fifth annual peace conference. They had about 70 different nations there talking about the same issue in different, workshops, et cetera. But the question was, how do we reduce extremism in our interpretation of scripture to solve political problems? What must be done? And it starts off with basically agreeing to sit down and talk to each other in a reasonable fashion and on a mutual, sure as we understand it today, to try to get some mutual agreement resolved on a number of issues that were discussed at that situation. And then our brother from Atlantic City shared his experience that you really have to build stronger coalitions. The example he used was that in Atlantic City today, they recognize 4 corners that they've named after Imam Warithuddin Muhammad to honor him. And they're going to build some things in that block. There's 2 blocks, in fact, in the city, but he couldn't do that without establishing working relationships among the city council. He also serves as vice chair of the city council in the area, and he's also president of the local chapter of the NAACP in the area. And we both have a familiarity with that group. I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP, so I worked with them for a long time. And so they were just examples, small examples of how we got to build relationships outside of our sort of normal arena of influence to build those positive relationships with like-minded people, especially today. And I'll give you another example of what happened this morning before I came back home. We had a Palestinian component, we had a public school component, we have the labor component. There were like 4 different groups that were part of the march this morning on Labor Day Solidarity. And we all sort of agree we got a common enemy. It's called those with very wealthy money called billionaires, greedy billionaires taking all the money from those of us who don't have billions of dollars and using it for their own benefit. And it went beyond that into policy discussions, et cetera, the impact on public education, the impact on Medicaid, went down the whole list of issues that impact the average citizen. And how can we work together, of course, to impact that collectively? Another small example of how we got to build relationships with people. And that is so critical. I shared with them that, the time I spent as a county commissioner, especially because I was the first elected Muslim on a countywide position in the history of North Carolina in this county, I had to really establish close relationships with people to get anything passed. There was only 7 of us on the commissioner's board. I needed 4 to pass anything. So I intentionally tried to work with these people to see what their concerns were. And we got them to do some things that I had put on the table to be done. Small example, sharing those dollars that came from the American Rescue Plan during the previous administration based on the disruption from the COVID situation. So those American Rescue Plan dollars were sent down from the federal government on 3 levels for the very first time. Usually the money goes to the states and the state decide how much you're going to get in your county. But this time, the money went to the state. Yes, they get their share. Money went straight from the federal government into the counties. They get their share. And then the money went straight to the school system, straight from the federal government. They get their share. But if you don't have a policy in place, when that money rolled in, the money went to the same old goody network system, as I call it, good boy network system, and the working people never saw a dime of it. So as the county commissioner, I said, listen, we're going to have a policy that 80% of all these dollars go into what's called marginalized communities. What did it mean, basically? poor people who were poor before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, with very little material resources. But no dollars would be spent in any community unless they qualified first for that. And it was not easy. We had, with a 5-2 vote, but we did pass that as a policy to govern how we allocated those funds. How do we do that? It was through building strong relationships with people to get them to see the benefit of what we're trying to pass. So when you sit down with your strategic partners that you're going to have to build relationships with, give them a chance to share their vision. You share your vision, and hopefully you can come up with a collective vision that we can all work toward. And it can happen that way. I work with another group called the Piedmont Tribe Regional Council. It's 11 counties in that organization. 11 counties, a regional group. Some communities call them COGS. But the idea is that one government body gets federal dollars. Now imagine this, you have 11 counties struggling to try to prove that they need the money more than you do. What's the first impulse? All those big counties with all those people, they always get the money. And the small counties say, it's time for us to get our share of the dollars. And that's the technical line of contention always, because everyone wants to share federal dollars. So we have to debate the issues, put a priority list together, what's most important for the growth of the whole region, that we can all agree upon. And it's not an easy thing to do. It takes time to listen, discuss, present your presentation, debate it, defend it, discuss, come back again the next week, continue the conversation. And in time, you can get some kind of agreement. Prime example, we have a weatherization program with about $7 million in it. What does that mean? Someone will come into your house and audit the weatherization status of your home. If you need window replacements, any kind of situation might improve the heating bill in your home, other than replacing the roof. The specs won't allow us to replace roofs, but anything else that you need to weatherize your home, you can have access to. If you don't make any more than, I think the cutoff was $38,000. It's basically money that you can access. So my position was, let's make sure that this information is spread throughout all 11 counties so we can all have access to it. And the first round of inquiries came from Guilford County, the largest county in the area. That's where Greensboro, North Carolina is located at. And so we said, we got to make sure that every county has some access as well, even the smaller counties. And so we came up with a little formula of how much we would be given to Guilford, Forsyth, Davie, Randolph, et cetera, to make it more even distributed. That did take a long time to agree on, but finally we did agree. So our strategy was, let's divide these resources up more equally so that everyone can have access to them, and not just let those who always get money get more money. Now, two small examples. Now, the situation we're in now in terms of community necessities is going to take collective action. Let me say it again. It's going to take collective action. We have to come out of our silos and really work with each other to gain the kind of resources and cooperation that we need to make a difference. We have a situation like most cities of affordable housing, the lack thereof. We had one study done in Winston-Salem alone that said we were about 18,000 units short. That was 5 years ago. And the population has grown since then. And then what happens? The city of Winston-Salem says we have some responsibility for public housing. The county says it's not our responsibility. It's not a part of our statute obligations from our charter. The state says, well, our tax credits are pretty much run out. So how do you break through all of that to get support for your secondary housing? You got to also incorporate the private sector to get things done. We finally got a unit down on what's referred to as the Peters Creek Parkway area. It was an old hotel that became an eyesore in the community. And they needed money to tear down the hotel and to build about 120 units, affordable housing there. And we were struggling trying to get tax dollars to help support the effort there. Eventually that happened. But in the meantime, they needed seed money to at least bring the old, I would say, seedy hotel down that was used for all kind of unimaginable purposes. It became an eyesore, basically. And so they came to the county and asked for $600,000 to assist them in bringing the property down. We went backward and forward. Finally, because of good relationships with each other, We got the county to agree on a 5-2 basis to award them $600,000 to assist in the demolition. Then we got the city to do the same thing. And I had to step down because I was on the board. It's called the Shalom Project. I couldn't allocate money. I couldn't vote because it's a conflict of interest on the project, but I convinced my colleagues to please give it full consideration, and it passed. Now, another example of establishing relationships to get things done that you know will benefit your community or your constituents as well. Small examples, but very important examples of how we need to work collectively together and to form those long-lasting relationships with other groups that are like-minded in their purpose to really represent the community. Small examples, but very important ones. And there's no one strategy. We have to realize that you have multiple strategies sometimes to get specific things done. And you test that strategy once you've implemented it. You evaluate it, see where you made your shortcomings, where you progress at. You go back in and say, all right, let's regroup. How are we going to organize the next effort? What will be our strategy? What will we do to implement it, and how we're going to evaluate it? Sort of keep that in the back of your mind as you form your relationship with your groups, and it has a lot of benefit. We have a very strong relationship now with a group called North Carolina Democracy, with Dr. Barber's group, Poor People's Campaign, Repairs of the Breach, Dr. Barbara Skinner. It's entitled Faith uh, Leaders to Save Democracy. It's a national organization. Does a lot of good work on election day. The Indivisible, another group that's very popular and doing, work like this, et cetera. And so we all sort of come together, they call it networking together for common cause, to come up with a strategy that will at least address some of our common issues and maximize our impact on the local political structures here. Just small examples of how we need to strategize, how we need to come up with solutions. And I'll conclude this part, with this statement. My hope is that Imam Wahid, Nasif Majid, Jimmy Salam, and who else was invited today? I think,
Was Brother Shabazz?
yes, thank you very much. We're all invited. Now, when we went to Washington, D.C., some of you know that I work also with the United States Council of Muslim Organizations, and we had 3 issues we wanted to have them to address, 3 specific issues. And the way that's organized, they elect what they call captains of each state to sort of train your delegation from your state, and you go speak to those senators from your state and your congresspeople from those states, and you present them our solutions and concerns for those issues we're concerned about. And I'll always remember that I used a model for all the presentations. I said, listen, y'all, follow my lead. They've asked me to train you, so I'm going to do my best to do so. So when you appeal to people like this, you don't go in with a hammer because you'll destroy the long-term relationship. You go in with the best argument to get things done on the long term. So I said, I'm gonna give you a little visual. Use this if you feel comfortable using it. We talked about human rights. We've talked about God. These are things we decided upon before we ever went in. We talked about recognizing Muhammad Ali and his contributions, etc. When you talk about Gaza, make it very human. I said, use this metaphor if you feel comfortable with it. Put yourself in this position. When you hear babies crying and you see babies dying, you hear mothers crying and you hear mothers dying, you see fathers praying and burying their young children over and over again. How do you feel? And if you feel anything, please consider this specific resolution that we're presenting to you to make an impact on that event, which is really a human rights violation beyond our imagination because we're not living under that situation. But I hope you can imagine the suffering that people are going through. Just use that as your visual. Hopefully it'll give you some kind of impetus in your presentation. And we had 2 to respond. They said they would indeed sign off on our resolution. And that's 2 out of 13, but at least we got 2. So I said alhamdulillah for that kind of movement. Again, brothers and sisters, just the idea that we want to think through strategies, think through solutions. And usually when you talk to elected officials, they want to see the solutions you come up with along with your concern. And that's a strategy you want to always implement whenever you can, in your group. We're going to pause now to see if we have any hands raised from the invited guests. If not, we have phase 2 to go into.
No
Do you
hands.
see any
So
hands? Okay.
don't
Yes.
see any hands.
I heard a yes.
Okay,
Oh,
Muhammad.
yes. It's Muhammad Sharif. You know,
Alhamdulillah.
imagine. My imagine is that if the groups came together, like Imam Deputy Muhammad 50 in Philadelphia, and the Moscow Convention that we just had this past weekend, and the Detroit National Convention. If those three groups would come together in the year 2030, imagine what that would be like.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's
Amatullah
Imam
Umrani.
Wahid. Okay.
Amatullah Umrani has her hand up.
Okay. Sister Ronnie.
Yes. I really like what the brother just said, though. I was going to ask a different question, but if he has any specific suggestions on how to facilitate that, I would be very interested in hearing that. But I don't want to get off this particular subject. But yes, that's I think that's something we could look forward to. My question just had to do, Brother Philemon, with your recognition there in for Mosqueras. I would just like to hear a few more sentences regarding that, if you don't mind.
How many sentences? One or two? Three or four? I'm just messing with you, Sister Abdullah. No, I'm honored to just comment on it. They have a process they use every year to recognize youth, young adults, uh, young man of the year, man of the year, sister of the year, young sister of the year, etc. And I think there's a process to use in the planning committee to identify those persons across the country, and then they do a collective vote. I understand. And they, of course, ask you to submit a biography, very short resume of some sort. And someone in the group went back and Googled me up and said, "This brother got too much to read on his." I said, "Don't read all this stuff. Just highlight this stuff, that's most important." Uh, but it was well received, brother, the leader of Mosqueras, of course, Imam Warthaday Muhammad II. He said that he remembers whenever I come around him, he feels very secure because he knew how much I loved his father. And he feels that same love for me when I am around him. I said, well, I was in Ghana one time. We had you on AM 360. Very hard to hear you, but that's when we were on blog radio. But eventually, in the near future, we'll have you on again, as well as Brother Imam Adele, who works with him as part of his administration. Um, but the energy was somewhat, very, very high. Uh, and I was you know, just inspired by the way people responded with the Q&A to the presentation we did, entitled Striving in 25 and Beyond, Know Your Constitution. And the constitutional part was really responding to well because a lot of people don't know the history of how that whole element gets started, and they don't link it into the Medina Charter and all of that goes along with that. So that was the presentation. And of course, on Sunday, they made the recognition. Uh, it just so happened I was at the conference I referred to earlier during that time. So I had to leave the DIOS to accept the reward, the Nigerian Association program. It just so happened to be at the same time they were giving up the award. So I left it. Told my wife just give me a signal, and I will leave the DIOS and come back and continue after the awards program was over. But it was an honor, Sister Amatullah. Beyond my imagination, I had no idea uh, that was going to happen, and I just thank Allah for the recognition from the believers. That was three or four questions. I mean, three or four sentences, I think. Is that enough?
Fleming, 5 seconds. Okay.
Thank you for the questions.
Brother Fleming, I want to go back to Curtis Mayfield because you mentioned a couple of songs, and I think it ties into, believe it or not, what you were saying. One song, People Get Ready.
Oh my God.
The change
Train
is
is coming.
coming. Yep. Um, how about moving on up?
We're moving on
Moving on
up.
up.
The
Moving on up.
Jeffersons. That's from the Jeffersons, right?
Right.
No, they wrote around his moving on
Oh.
up. He wasn't talking about to the east side. Um, Also, he had a one called Get Down, and also, hmm, now this is interesting. He had one title that was called New World Order. That was the album
Mm,
title, New World Order.
yes.
Um, Let me see, Kung Fu. He had Kung Fu.
Hmm.
He had
Variety.
um, Right On for the Darkness. He also had something that was called.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, thank you for that. He also had If There's Hell Below,
Mm.
Back to the World, Gypsy Woman. Remember that one? That's kind of off of our um, political social activist theme, but we might um, see or fail to see the connection between this. But remember, there is a connection between culture and what's going on in the society. And it's important for us to,
Yes.
I think, to see that um, and to appreciate that and to see how sometimes the elements of culture, we need to really have a sober mind and see how it has been used against us to keep us down. Um, and I just wanted to to make that comment. But I have a question that maybe you can help all of us in looking at. It's easier to say that we develop these relationships and that they're important to be able to establish policy. Um, in my limited experience, that is like building the foundation of a building. If you're going to put up a 40-foot high rise, 40-story high rise or more, you have to dig down so deep and it takes so much time. Like you can go by a construction site and you see them for months and months and months. You don't see anything going on top side. And then all of a sudden you come by and they're 10 stories up. They were spending all that time building that foundation, digging deep, building that foundation. From your experience, you've worked with a lot of different groups. What do you see as the perhaps the top two challenges to establishing those type of working relationships that you're talking about?
Mm. The top two challenges. The first one is simply recognizing the value in the other entity that you're dealing with.
Okay.
You got to recognize the value of the contribution that they make or are making. Do you see the
Okay.
value in what they're doing, or do they see the value in what you're doing? Because I've been in sets when I
Okay.
had to walk out also. Because the direction they were going in was not where I was going at all. I said, well, listen, thank you for the opportunity, but I have another appointment in about 15 minutes. Call me, please, when you finish your deliberations here. But I cannot be a part of this. So that happens. But if it's something they see that personally you see with value in it, they see you having something of value, you got to be willing to discuss things openly and honestly. That's another thing that frequently does not happen. You can't be afraid. You got to have the courage to say, listen, this is what I see. And I'm going to be very specific now. We had a situation in Forsyth County. A young man ran for soil conservationist. Some other little title was added to it. But it's the kind of position it's on the very back of the ballot that most people don't even vote for, kind of thing.
have no idea what the person's
Yeah, have no idea what the function is, what they do,
and who the
etc. Right?
candidates are and all of that.
And who
Yeah.
he is. Yes. So we had a young man from Winston-Salem State University who was a researcher in that area, but he was not known in the community. He happened to be, I think he was from Pakistan.
Mm.
The other guy had an African American name, of course. He got the win. Okay, he was elected. Only find out this brother, first of all, had used a false name to even put his name on the election board itself. They didn't really do the homework to check him out thoroughly. He had a felony. I forget how many felonies he had. Compared to what's in the president now, is not a big deal. But with that position, because he had not been honest on his election, materials he submitted, he was still on parole for a crime he committed in another county. And he was, there are a lot of elements to it that he didn't really be honest about, right? So a group of us get together now and then and discuss the status of politics in Strahad. And I'll say these are people sort of gray-headed like me to sort of see what's really going on from our perspective. And two people said, we invited him to 3 different meetings. He never showed up. The only reason he won is because of his color of his skin. I said, you cannot let skin politics determine who you vote for. That's not enough. You got to see the value of the person and also the background of the person, see if they're qualified. This young man, of course, has been eliminated, now serving time because he left the city he, was on parole for, violated his parole, and moved here under disguise, and people didn't know his background. So he lost that position. Very strong embarrassment to the community. And I said, we have to be honest. We failed. If you're going to call yourselves advisors to the community when it comes to political affairs, we failed the community because we didn't do our own homework on this young man. And we omitted a young man who was more than qualified, and he didn't get his position because people said, "Oh, he's Palestinian. He's trying to just get it." Not Palestinian, he's from Pakistan. And they had this attitude about immigrants, which I thought was so insulting. But that's just one small example of what can happen. Don't take the time to really learn about the person's running and not being honest. That was the key thing, not being honest. Beyond that, it's a time factor. It's not a social event. It's not a pop, pop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. It takes time. It takes time. And so you have to have investment in time and you got to have value and seeing the value of the person you're dealing with or the group you're dealing with. Inshallah. My wife is calling me. Excuse me just one second. So, Samatu, would you mind continuing the conversation for a second?
Sure. I'll
Thank
ask Cheryl that same question. Since
Yes.
you've been involved in the political life, two challenges, and I'm asking you this question based on um, from what you said in the past, that you agree with Brother Fleming in terms of the need of establishing relationships in order to form um, viable policies. What do you see? First of all, do you agree with the position that Fleming put out there? And then the question is two challenges. What do you see as two challenges to being able to build those kinds of relationships? His was saying seeing the value in each other. The individual or the organization, seeing value in the other entity that you're trying to establish the relationship with. And then they also have to see value in you, the individual or the organization. So that's the first thing that Brother Fleming put out there. What do you see from your political experience as two challenges to establishing those kinds of working relationships, if any?
Thank you for the question. Let me start with, I do agree with Brother Fleming, and I have a different question when we finish this one, but I do agree with Brother Fleming, except I think the number one issue that I see is just plain old unfettered ego. It's just ego. Somehow we all think every person who runs for office or gets elected or who heads a NGO or a nonprofit or a community-based group or some of these organizations, you think you're the only one who can get it done. So there's no room for other people's either very, using a word from earlier from Sister Amrani, practical viewpoints. And sometimes when you're so close to things, you don't necessarily see the holes in the cracks. So sometimes it's good to have someone else looking. But our ego says, and I watch this especially with those who, Brother Fleming, your word, seasoned people, not wanting to let go because they don't think anybody can do it. And there was a time when you couldn't do it. I forget the actual saying, but I know Imam Muhammad said something like that about, not being critical of someone who doesn't know what you know. Because there was a time when you didn't know what you knew. But there's not a secession plan. And whether you're looking at national politics, state or local, is always the same thing. You can look at NAACP, right? ACLU, Sierra Club, any of those organizations, and you have the same thing. Something about having your name or your face be the one, and the unwillingness to fade to the background. Still doing the work. And a lot of us know what that's like. You do the work, nobody even knows who you are. It is what it is. But it's something about that in its human nature to let the ego take over. And that ego don't care about faith. It don't care about culture. He doesn't even care about if the job can get done better. It's the human ego. So not being able to control that, I think, is one. And the second one, I agree, it takes time, but it also takes patience. So a lot of people will quit. And I think both of you said that to a degree of what I'm talking about. They'll quit because it's not happening in the way or in the speed that they want it to happen. And I have a saying at work that I say, there's a young woman who works with me. I'm going to tell you what she also says, but I say, you want it right or you want it quick? And she always says, a rush job is going to get you rush results. So anytime we're trying to, as you said with the foundation, sister, if that foundation is wrong, the whole building is going to collapse. But there's a lot of people who rather live in a tent than, going back to the ego, give up the control. And so when you're dealing with powerful national organizations, as was named, MassCares, IWDM, CARE, all of those, there has to be ego check at the door. And it has to be what's best for the global ummah, not just for your particular sub-community. And that's very hard for people to do, because behind that is a lack of trust. Is a lack of trust that not just that someone else can do it, but you can do it like I do it, or you're going to include me in those decision makings. You can have all the documentation in the world, the bylaws and everything else, but if people don't trust one another, it makes it difficult to let go of the ego, and it makes it difficult to be patient and still continue forward.
Yes.
Thank you. So Fleming, you named one what would be your second challenge to that, building those relationships that can
Yes.
move policy or develop
You know,
strategy?
I'm going to try to use a specific example, and I hope I can suggest how this came about, why it's so important. Many of you have heard of Dr. William Barber, right?
Right.
Well, the board of the National NAACP got so jealous of him, he had to form repairs of the breach to continue the work that he was doing. Now, I'm saying that because that idea of jealousy is such a corruptible element in some of our organizations over nothing. Jealous of his successes as a person who had the public ear, the public, light on him, the work he was really doing. And so they actually tried to undermine him. And he put, he's from Goldsboro, North Carolina. For those that don't know, that's a very small town on the eastern part of North Carolina. His parents were public educators, etc. And they had been fighting for a long time in the civil rights movement. When he was born, he was forecasting not to ever be able to walk. If you ever see him, you see him walking, with a lot of help. Okay. But his heart was into helping his people. And people responded to that. We would have, they call it a JK-10 marches on a regular basis, where thousands of people would show up in Raleigh, North Carolina to discuss certain issues, but also to listen to him. And that's the kind of influence he had on the everyday people. But this group of board members in NAACP thought he was going outside of their, quote, mission. Simple jealousy. Because I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP. So I know how the charters are evolved. I know how the board has changed. I know some of the infighting, et cetera. But that element of jealousy is brutal sometimes. And you got to be able to get around that element when you're dealing with other people. If you see that's not going to be the case, it's better for you to invest your time somewhere else. Because that is an eroding element in some groups, unfortunately. And I've encountered some of that. Ego tripping, as our sister just said, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. I'm going to give another example of how ego tripping get in your way. The current president of the local chapter of the NAACP is the son of the previous president, who was the nephew of the previous president. So you got 3 generations of Harrisons in the leadership position. But to get this young man with all the energy and the zeal in place required replacing the whole executive board of the local NAACP. And I won't go into the details, but to have to replace the whole board tells you volumes about ego tripping. And that was required just to get the public to support the local chapter like they used to. They used to have monthly meetings at different religious houses. That stopped. There was no publication of the budget until he came back on board, and he required transparency. And of course, when they called me up, I said, listen, I cannot do this unless 1, 2, 3 takes place. I don't have money, but I have a good name in the community. So if you're willing to do this, count me in as a member of the executive board. And so I volunteered for that. But I'm saying all that just to say, brothers and sisters, the element of jealousy can be a strong resistance to getting anything done with other people sometimes. And it's a human factor. But if you just check your egos, you know how they made the song "We Are the World"? When you first walked into that studio, at the very top it had "Leave Your Ego at the Door," and you had some strong personalities in that music industry, and they have big egos. I'll leave it like that. So getting the ego out of the way, giving that culture of jealousy out of the way, and just sharing the value of what they're contributing to make the situation better. 3 elements, I think, that will make the difference in establishing relationships.
Okay, can I let me move with another question,
Okay.
because when you recounted to us being the first Muslim on that county board, I want to relate that to you mentioned the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, I believe. When you
Yes, ma'am.
go or there, or like CARE when they have their days at the Capitol, here on the state level, and then also on the federal level when they go to visit the congressional and the senators, the Congress
Mm-hmm.
members and the senators. You have Impact that does that same thing, going to the legislators. How, and I can, and Cheryl mentioned the element of patience, and I think that is critical. How do you overcome, or what strategy can we use to overcome the, I'm talking about the Muslim community,
Mm-hmm.
national now in the United States? What strategies can we use to overcome the influence of lobbyists, these organizations like APAC that have, congressional leaders in their back pocket because of
Mm-hmm.
the money that they funnel into the whole campaign getting reelected cycle. Um, have you thought about, or can you give us maybe some suggestions of a solution of how Muslims, which is a larger population than uh, Jews in this country, can up our level of influence or being valued, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
by these elected officials? Because as it is now, from my perspective, they don't value us um, to the degree that we should be valued, just based on our contributions to the country historically, based on our numbers, and based on our voting record.
Mm-hmm.
So, any suggestions of strategies that
Yes.
we need to develop?
I strongly suggest start local, start local, start local. Now, what do I mean by that? Organize as many groups that you know locally that have a similar concern. Muslims by that. Um, and we have an issue too sometimes of getting beyond egos, getting beyond this is my city, getting beyond, I'm already organized, I don't need your help. I'm just being very frank right now.
Mhm.
We started an effort here called Triad Association of Muslim Concerns, just trying to get Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point at the same table to come up with strategies and how we can greatly influence our local or state general assembly with concerns that we had, but not going there first going to the local city council in their prospective cities with concerns that we had that influence the Muslim population. There were about 7 that saw the need, got gung-ho about it, and then one element from another city I won't name, with big dollars in their pocket, wanted to sort of buy a position on the board. And we said, no, it doesn't work that way. You can't control the board because you make a contribution toward a nonprofit entity like that. You have to be voted in. And this family was very upset and annoyed that we turned down their money. So some of the same issues that we have dealing with the other population, we got to somehow come to grips with the internal politics we have with each other sometime. And that makes the outer community think that we're not organized. And you don't have to be unified, but be organized. Give room for people to have their differences because human nature is usually got different perspectives on things, and that's natural. But at least be organized to present a public front when you want something done. Uh, I'll give you another example in North Carolina. We had a brother whose name was Jim Shaw, first senator, in fact, elected Muslim in North Carolina. He owns several different catering companies. And I don't mean just small companies. He fed most of the universities in North Carolina, HBCUs, large enterprise, had his own jet. Okay. Adam B. was his accountant. So this brother was the one who got the state of North Carolina to accept the Holy Quran as official religious document to take our oaths on if we elected in any position in the state of North Carolina. Very down to earth brother. He stayed 2 terms, if I recall correctly. Still around, but not as active. And he just told me, he said, Fleming, I got tired of the nonsense from Muslims. We told him I got to change my name. We went through a whole list of things they were saying, demanding of him to do. And he was in a position to help all of us from that position he has as a senator in the General Assembly. So we have to really be careful not to devalue each other and to appreciate each other as believers, appreciate each other. I'll share this and I'll relent. I had to review some history with brothers yesterday on the early life of Prophet Muhammad in Mecca and Medina and how he preached his first sermon and his second sermon. So you go back and do your homework, you'll see in his first sermon in Mecca, he talked about glorifying Allah because he had 365 other deities in that chamber that we all honor today, the Kaaba. And these people coming down there to make money. Every year was a big deal for them. It was a money-making thing. So he was talking about getting rid of all those entities and worshiping one God. Oh, they came out to him, boycotted his family. That's how Sister Khadijah passed away. She got sick on the boycott, refused to sell, and just tried to wipe him out. That was his first sermon. The second sermon in Medina, he talked about community concerns. But he always focused in on the individual, elevating the individual first, from his wife to his cousins, to his friends, Abu Bakr, etc. His focus was initially just on the individual. Now, we see him as a guy who has massive appeal to the world because that's the perception we had. But in the initial converse of his with family members, friends, he wanted to elevate the thinking, the perspective, and they had a commitment to each other. They would sell anything they had to help him. That was the love they had for him. The point was that you have to see individual value in people to get their cooperation. And it's not so much sometimes what you say, it's what they feel from you. And if they don't feel anything from you, you can talk all you want to talk until the sun goes down. You won't get a positive response. So we got to see and elevate the importance of just the human person, especially when it comes to Muslims. The brother earlier said he can imagine mosques, IWD 50, and others, because we have some other organizations too, coming together. We've been promoting what we call the gram weight of a mustard seed of unity to make that happen. And some people are working on that now. If you see it advertised, you'll see that effort because it needs to be done. I like to see it done in the next year, not in 2030. But that's going to take the same thing, valuing each other as a group, seeing the need to cooperate, and hopefully coming to consensus through Shura to work together with each other. I went more than my 2 minutes. I apologize.
No, good response. Cheryl seems like her neurons are kicking into place.
Here. Yes, and yes. I do like, Brother Fleming, you said, have open, honest discussions. And I think what I see, and I agree with you, sometimes Muslims are biggest critics and the biggest ones who have the issues. It reminds me of it's always this skit and different people have done it, right? It's raining and the brother's in a brand new Cadillac, but he sees his friends at the bus stop with the rain. So instead of stopping to pick him up, rolls by, says, "How you doing?" and keeps going. Or worse, drives through the puddle that's next to the bus stop and splashes them.
Water this brother, Lord have mercy.
With the music blasting.
Mm.
So when I always think about this, I think about, Is the jealousy, or is the ego, or is the don't feel like cooperating. To be honest, don't feel like cooperating because you don't like the way the other person does it, or you've been burned before working with a particular group. Again, they's fueled by something other than the desire for what is best for the ummah. And so what happens is we don't, we have 15 organizations when we could really have a couple, one or two. We're stretching the same people in different directions who are doing the work when we could be limiting it and being more successful. NACP is a great example. I can't think of a community that doesn't have some kind of irk about the NAACP, especially, its aging leadership. And I said it like that. But a lot of times they have to wait their turn. And that's the same rhetoric from that's oppressor rhetoric, right? You know your turn, you have to wait your turn. What have you done to prove yourself? You gotta sell a kidney or your firstborn for black people and Muslims. But when the other people come in, especially the oppressor, the people who do not mean well by you, come in, he's like, we have so many in our communities who are so drawn to proximity to the oppressor. And I don't mean just like one race. I mean, whoever is the oppressor. By the proximity to power that the oppressor holds, that they're willing to turn their back or turn their eyes or look through tunnel vision or pretend like they don't see what they see until it's thrown into your face and you get knocked upside the head. And by that time, the whole community is suffering. And we've seen this in election after election, local, state, federal. We see it in our organizations, right? If we're going to have a real open, honest dialogue, I will tell you how many times I've been to a mosque and, it's international Muslims, it's so-called American Muslims, regardless of the race. And they're separated. Or if they are blended in, somebody has something to say about somebody. Or you have people in the Muslim community saying, oh, you go there, that's the international masjid. No, it's just masjid to me. Or you go there, that's the black mosque. Or like that. That right there is what makes it difficult to do this, what you called it, the Council of Muslim Organizations, the way like the brother talked about imagining, the way Sister Amtila talked about imagining, Sister Ronnie, all of us talked about how would we imagine what that would look like. And it has to start with stop finding differences and start finding similarities. I think the biggest thing is finding those differences. Those differences, yes, culturally, we have differences sometimes, depending on who we're talking about. But I'm watching worldwide. I don't know if you saw what happened in Belgium, right? One of the women in the Belgian parliament said, if they don't like Islam, if a person in Belgium doesn't like Islam, they can leave. We are Islamic. When you look at when I've traveled, I don't know how, if you've traveled to like the Pacific Islands, like Malaysia and Thailand, places like that, they have that same attitude. You can't tell me not to cover myself or wear hijab like they do in London, right?
Understood.
They stand on that principle, and it's not just a principle for a certain group, right? It is I'm not going to force you to wear it, but I'm also not going to force you to take it off so that you can assimilate. But my open, honest conversation is that too many of us are willing to assimilate and throw the rest of us to the wolves so that they can have positions instead of that photo. And I'm going to put it up in my background of lifting down and lifting up the next person.
Yes.
We stay too long. We hold on too long. We like people who don't mean us good because we want to be in that circle, and they don't mean you any good. They will call you, they may even tokenize you and tell you, you're so great. You're so great. But don't you challenge one of their positions of power and influence, then you're not great anymore. That's what I see, sister.
Mm.
Okay.
But
Can I
I have
use
a
another
different,
30 seconds?
yeah.
You just
Yes,
reminded
and
me
I
of
do have a
something.
question. I do have a question for you after that.
Okay. Yeah, I want to just share very quickly. Some of you know that I was in Ohio for a while because my wife was a professor at Bowling Green State. So while I was there, I was actually the president of a group called AMA, the American Muslim Alliance, really headquartered in California.
Yeah.
Anyway, they asked me to run the chapter as president in the Toledo area. In Toledo, they have a huge masjid in Parisburg, all the minarets, the whole 9 yards. And I knew the imam there pretty well. So he asked me to come to an administrative meeting. What was it all about? They had 30 different countries represented in the masjid there. Each country wanted to have their own celebration individually during Ramadan. They didn't want to come together and eat a meal and share a meal. It was just come down from Canada. He was an administrator of the hospital there, etc. He knew my wife, Muhammad. In fact, we had the imam speak there, while we were there. And they knew each other from a long time ago. He knew Akbar as well. But he was trying to figure out, how can I get these people to come together to have a dinner? Because they were very strong about their cultural foods. They said Prophet Muhammad always recognized the culture people. He did not want you to lose your culture. Yeah, that's well and good. But it has merit, no question about it. You're not supposed to imitate somebody else. Be your own natural, cultural, beautiful self. But can you sit down and have a meal together in spite of your culture? Now, that was a problem. I'm talking about when was I in Ohio? 91? Not too long ago. Okay. And it sounds like when you say the word Muslim unity, it's a big thing. But in fact, it's not. We have set a pattern and an example, believe it or not, that's a little bit stronger than some other communities because they're very, sometimes more culture centered than Islamic centered. And I worked around a lot of them over the years. Uh, so it is a problem. Muslims have to really see and appreciate our value also in each other and not trying to always give somebody instructions. I'm gonna stop right there. Okay. Uh, let's see. Any callers so far that we want to respond to questions to? Or did
I don't,
Brother Wahid come on yet?
don't,
919 area code? Not
no,
yet?
don't see any
Okay.
phones or any hands.
Okay. All right then. Well, maybe invite our other participants to make their comments, see if they have any questions.
We do have one hand. I don't know. I think maybe it's Brother Kareem. It's American Muslim 360. You want to go right ahead? And give us your name.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, it's Sister Manera.
Oh, walaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. I'm very happy to hear that the work that's being done, attempting to unify our indigenous community. I attended the Mosque Cares convention this past weekend, and I found so much benefit in many of the participants who gave presentations, particularly around the history of the evolution of Al-Islam in our community. And there were photos and minutes of meetings and detailed information on how different chapters were organized and those who traveled around the country helping in those efforts. And I was thinking to myself, everyone needs to know this, especially so it can be taught to the younger people. So um, any attempts that are made to bring that unity, that sacred unity that we should have among each other is a welcome um, idea and way for energy to be spent. So I'm very excited about that and happy to hear about that. Alhamdulillah.
Brother Fleming, there is one phone caller. The area code is 251.
Okay.
366. I don't know if that was one of the guests or.
If you would ask them to identify themselves and make their comments if they like to.
Yes. Phone caller 0044 is the last four digits of the phone number. Would you unmute yourself, please, and you can ask a question or make a comment. Hmm. 0044 phone caller to map 5. You want to unmute yourself? No.
Okay, well, the invitation was given. So.
Okay, wait a minute. We got another 251. Maybe they're having difficulty with their number. Area code 251. The last four digits are 2987. Would you unmute yourself? Okay, that one dropped off. So 0044. Do you know how to unmute yourself? Probably at the bottom of your screen on your phone, you will see a microphone. And if there is a line going through that microphone, click on that microphone to unmute it. They may be having difficulty, Brother Clement.
Okay.
They don't know how to unmute themselves.
All right. Well, we thank them for trying and thank them for listening to the program. Inshallah, we can get past your technology. The sister just spoke, reminded me of this book that I have found so detailed in the history of our community. It's a book entitled The Treasure Under the Wall, Thursdays with the Imam. It's the most recent one that Imam Rana Shaheed has written. Pretty thick, but it's so detailed. Imam Muhammad talks specifically about when Muhammad Abdullah came to visit him in Philadelphia. He was also out in San Francisco. Imam Muhammad served as the Imam out there, etc., and how he actually was Farad Muhammad, and how he checked on him over the years, etc. But he does a very detailed history of the community, and I would strongly suggest anyone who has that interest, get your copy of The Treasure Under the Wall. Imam Shaheed was going to be on the program today, and he emailed me over the weekend and said he had a respiratory condition. He could not talk that well, but he wanted to be a guest in the future. So I said, listen, you're always welcome to come on board. Just let me know when you're able to speak, and we'll make an opportunity for you to come on board to discuss the book, The Treasure Under the Wall. It's very, very detailed with the history of this community and other insights with Imam Wafdi Muhammad. And some of you know that he met with a group of people in Chicago every Thursday at his home. And most of the books that Imam Rana Shaheed have written are from the notes they took because Imam Muhammad encouraged them to do just that. So again, the name of the book is The Treasure Under the Wall, Thursdays with the Imam, Rana Shaheed. Strongly recommend you put this in your library. And you can only read 2 pages at a time. But it's a good read. There's so much information. That's why I'm saying that. A wealth of information in that book, especially on the early history of this community, how it evolved. And one thing that came up quite often over the weekend was reference to the 92-year history we have in this country. as a growing community. And people made some very specific contributions on how that early community started in one room. And people making all kind of sacrifices to allow people to have an expression of what they thought was their Islamic life, and the kind of sacrifices they made just to give a foundation for what we have today. And that's something we should always honor. It goes back to the idea of having that foundation. If it's really built solidly, the wind will come along and blow it down. So take the time to research the community and record the history of the people in your community who've been around for a while. They have a lot of history to share with you. You can learn a lot by simply listening. And I used to tell my students, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Perhaps we should listen more than we talk. All right, next question.
That listening is important with how we listen, because sometimes we listen to form our argument to combat what we're hearing.
Yes.
And that is one of the challenges when it comes to performing coalitions and working.
Yes, ma'am.
We probably would have to continue this topic, Brother Fleming, on several programs, because we know these midterms are coming up.
Yes.
That already the administration has made very overt um, actions to try and uh, capture more seats to have a stronger majority in the Congress. With the redistricting that um, the president tried and was successful in getting Abbott Governor Abbott in Texas to push their state legislature to do. This week, I started to see the opposition advertising here in California to what Governor Newsom proposes in California in terms of also doing redistricting to increase the districts. His temporary, the language of his measure is to say that this is a temporary measure. But I would say that the language of those opposed to disbelieve, I believe this is Prop 50, is a convincing language to oppose it, because they frame it as they cite facts. They cite the facts of that the people of California, voted in this um, independent commission, nonpartisan commission, to deal with the drawing of the district line. And this is something that was supported by the people of California. And now to um, bring forward this Prop 50 that is really fighting against democracy, which is the language that those of us who may be opposed to the direction that we see the federal government taking with the president and these executive orders and all of the efforts that he has made um, to dismantle the federal government, to dismantle federal agencies, to really push and see how far he can go in terms of constitutional framework and borders and parameters. Um, so I think that if other states attempt to do what Governor Newsom is attempting to do here in California, and if the opposition in other states is as well organized or well, um, if their narrative, if their language is as well positioned as these commercials I've seen here in California, that I think that the gerrymandering that the Republicans are trying to do will be successful unless there is a very strategic effort to educate all of us, I include myself, in what is at stake and what actions are being taken exactly, where do they fall on the spectrum of preserving or fighting against democracy. So I'm just going to put that out there, and maybe as we have more discussion on solutions and strategies, that we definitely look at this question of gerrymandering and counter strategies to Republican gerrymandering or MAGA gerrymandering, and what we can do or what we should do in preparation for the midterm election. I know that was a long statement, but I do think it's important for us to delve into that particular area as a solution and a strategy that we look at.
Mhm.
I don't know if you and
Yeah,
Cheryl or whatever.
yes, let me take 30 seconds on this one. Put the clock on.
I
The big
am
question
going
behind
to,
all
I'm going to do just that. Where is my little timer here? Okay,
you
you
know,
know,
behind all of that activity from Texas to California, et cetera, the big question is, do the people elect their people to represent them, or do the representatives elect the people to vote for them? Let me say it again. Do the people elect people to represent them, or do the representatives determine who's going to vote for them? And what the current 45, 47 has done is to go into a state to make sure that indeed it's not the people, it's the representatives themselves determining who's going to vote for them. That's a critical question. Then when you tie that into the Constitution, there's supposed to be a count of the people to determine how many senators, of not senators, representatives you will have to represent your state. It's a number thing. If your population increases, you get another representative, and that representative should be reflective of the demographics of that state. What they're doing now through this person at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, whose name I refuse to say, is trying to deck the stack to ensure that not the people, but the representatives elect themselves over and over again. Because once you draw a district with a specific demographic in mind, in a sense, you diluted the power of the people. Now, when you're saying now, this guy who has no regard for the Constitution, because it's very specific. Every 10 years, you do a population census. Behind that number, you determine how many additional representatives each state will have. And that additional representative should represent the demographics of that state. That's not what's happening now. They're trying to say, no, forget that. We need more representative districts that are Republicans, independent of who stays in that district or that locale. And that's the challenge, you know. Um, and there's a lot more we need to say about that going forward, but that's the fundamental argument. Should we elect our representatives, or should representatives determine who's going to elect them? That's the bigger question behind this whole fiasco. But I'll stop right there because I could take another 30 seconds. But we'll stop right there for now. We'll continue to be continued, inshallah.
okay. Cheryl has her head cocked to the side and her eyes going up to the ceiling. So those neurons are on blast again. Honorable Cheryl Sutter, you were going to say something?
Yeah. And I go back to what we've been talking about. Why do I have to explain why this is needed? Why this counter is needed? Why do people need an explanation? When you can see, unless you have your eyes covered and your ears covered and your head buried in the sand, you can see the damage that is being done to not just one community, but all communities. I'm not even talking about democracy. I think that talking about, oh, they're destroying democracy is so far over people's heads. No, it's destroying your community. I don't see any grocery prices going down. I don't see any appliances going down. People still don't get housing that's affordable. We have Babies dying, people starving and babies dying. And so having to paint that picture for people when you can see it all around you, I get irritated because it's the same thing that happens when one of us run for office and you gotta like convince someone that the person causing them harm, don't vote for them again. Stop voting for them. So it's your fault that we're where we are because you keep voting against your own interest because somebody hasn't convinced you that it is against your own interest. But you can see it. Your job hasn't improved, your housing situation hasn't improved, you're spending more money on food and shelter than you could, than you should be. Your children can't get in school. There's all kind of issues that weren't there if you buck the system, is what I'm gonna say, right? Going back to our music examples, I wanted to say this earlier. I remember, I know this song, and I know I'm going to date myself because I remember Chuck D and Public Enemy, Fight the Power. I also know that the Isley Brothers had a song called Fight the Power too. And when I'm looking at things, I usually listen to music and I listen to the lyrics a lot. And the reason I like to talk about music in the context of what's happening is what Sister Amtala said earlier. You can't separate the culture from what people doing. And back in the 80s, as I was growing up, Chuck D say something about, I just remember him calling hip hop the black CNN. And he said that because, that the really universal truth is what you said earlier, that it's not just music. It's the stories of our communities. It's the struggle. It's the protest. And you can't unlink music and the protest because it goes beyond the genre of music or art. Art is another, visual art is another one. So I think that we can't just keep decreeing oppression and injustices and giving us prayers for these positive change. You have to do something. You have to do something. My grandmother used to say, prayer without moving your feet and good works is just a dream. You have to do the work. And we sometimes, a lot of us sit back and think, somebody else is going to do it or have to explain it to us. No, no. It's really simple. They won't pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, but they want to go in and change what's constitutionally prohibited in redistricting. Now they want to say no mail-in ballots. He doesn't have the legal authority to do it. That's constitutional. He doesn't have that legal authority. He can sign as many of those papers with his big old fat signature as he wants to. Doesn't have any legal weight unless we give it legal weight, right? We, the people, have much more power than what we exercise or that we put forth. We're not the material possessions that we own. We are not a particular party. Going back to your first words, Brother Fleming, human beings and valuing that humanness. And even if it doesn't affect me, I'm going to be concerned about it because it affects my neighbor or the person down the road or someone else. And that's lost because we spend so much time trying to convince each other to do something that they're over here destroying the world. They keep you busy chatting and arguing amongst ourselves while they destroy the rest of the world. Instead of just saying, you know what? I don't like what I see. It does not sit well in my chest, my values, our collective values. We're going to do something about this right now. We can have all these discussions later. I don't care about democracy in that sense, meaning that we got to sit here and have an agreement that beating the hell out of somebody in the middle of the street is wrong. That shooting up a private religious school is wrong, and not passing laws to stop that. What are we discussing? What are we discussing? If the
Yeah,
people in
nothing seemed to
charge,
be working here with us.
well, they don't have the political desire or will to make the change, then get them out of office. That's us. That's on us. This is not on them. They're not just going to walk out of office. Very few of them do that. So it's on us to say, you know what? Enough is enough. Not having it anymore. I don't care if homegirl over here has 1 year experience. I'm going with her. I don't care if brother over here, you know, he's
Emma,
whatever. It's if their values match. If and then if they don't do what they say they're gonna do, get them out of there too. We don't have to hold on to people for 20, 30, 40 years. We don't, especially when it's not working in our favor. And I don't mean in our favor as in, oh, I'm gonna get a bigger house, a bigger car, and I mean towards that word you said kept ringing in my ear all day today: humanness, valuing humanity. And if what you're doing is not valuing humanity, I don't care who it is that you're against. I can't get, and I don't need no lengthy discussion. I'm with what is going to value humanity.
You know, I appreciate your intensity, and I'm going to take you back to what you said as far as patience. I think you're being impatient in that. I think the maybe the 30 to 40 something year old who is laboring under student loan debt, if they've tried some entrepreneurship, trying to be successful, if they're trying to um, make career advances. They haven't come up in the public school system where citizenship and civics has really imbued in them the reality of their strength as a voter. And I think for the most part, they are not paying attention to it as the wants, like Fleming and you and myself, who are paying attention to these things. And understand, I think that if we were to survey our Muslim community, let's just start with the Muslim community. If we were to survey the Muslim community, I'm not sure, and maybe ACGG needs to do this, Brother Fleming. How many people understand what gerrymandering is about and how it affects our um, our people power? And how many people really have an understanding of what Abbott has done in Texas, and if this is duplicated in other states? I looked at it was something that I forgot. Maybe it was a Substack, or I have to go back. I don't have all of my. Usually, I like to have my little research documents with me, but I haven't had them with me the last 2 weeks. But this particular source, which was a valid source that I was looking at, was giving a history of Texas, and I think it was
about me some murders.
it was in relationship to Colin Allred. Would he be successful as going up against, I think it was Ted Cruz or someone, or trying to get a senatorial seat from Texas? And they were like, in the last 35 years, well, the last, I think they said 50 or 60 years, Texas has been Republican. In the last 35 years, they have not had a Democrat to win a senatorial seat. in the last how many years, and it was like this is a strong, strong, strong Republican conservative state, and it's very difficult
And
for
what
me.
and now we're here. I can't get
Brother
my
Brother
phone
Muhammad,
to
Brother Muhammad, yeah, there you go. And so those are strong facts, and even in face of
Assalamu alaikum.
Brother Muhammad,
Amatullah.
Brother Muhammad, you're talking. Can you just hold your comment for a minute? Um, so the point that I'm making, Cheryl, is I don't believe that aside from maybe the political wonks and activists and advocates in the Muslim community, I have, um, based on recent observation of different age groups in the Bay Area, people are not focused into the midterms, and they're not focused into this thing of gerrymandering and vote suppression to really know what's at stake coming up in 2026 and how we stop, what strategies we need to develop to stop what they're trying to do to take their strength, to increase their strength in these elected positions so that they can bring forth more of these oppressive policies that this current administration is putting forward. Maybe I'm wrong, but people I've been listening to a lot of Muslims and younger Muslims in the community, they have no idea what's going on. Even though a lot of it is on social media platforms and whatnot, um, it's like they're not paying attention. People are not paying attention.
Mhm.
So what do we
Let me
do?
give let me give you one small example from Winston-Salem right now. The school system here was started off the year $48 million in the hole. Now it's a relatively small school system, but that had never happened before. Okay, their solution was to fire 350 assistant principals, teachers, central office people, etc., starting with the EC program. EC stands for Exceptional Children. Those children who need sometimes individual attention, etc. The students in every high school walked out of their schools protesting. Two high schools at a time. There's only 8 in the whole county. But they walked out of school with their signs, young people, saying the teachers should not pay for the mistakes you made. And it's going on right now. Of course, today is the day they're going to have a meeting with the commissioners, see what the final result is going to be. But when an issue hits you in the face, and that's the sad part about our political culture, it's got to be almost in your face to get your attention. Because by design, they're trying to keep you interested in something else. By design, to keep you unfocused. So you don't connect with the political arena. And when you stop being connected to it, all the shenanigans take place, like destroying the whole Department of Public Education on a federal level, removing money from every department that we have put faith in, and looking at the federal employee as some kind of enemy to the country, and justifying firing these people overnight. No sense of due process at all. And what's the people's response to that? They narrative, efficiency, waste, etc., and not looking at the impact that has on an individual family who has a mortgage or rent payment or children to feed and their survival. It's a multiplier effect. So our focus, unfortunately, in politics does not come into real uh, sense until it hits us right in the face. And that's the sad part of it. And it's not unintentional. It's very, very intentional to make us almost fall asleep at the wheel while they do what they want to do. And there's a whole conversation about being at the wheel and being awake that we'll go into another time. But that sadly is conditional. A lot of our people, and they always say, "What difference does my vote make? Why should I get involved? It won't change anything." Oh, the sky's falling. Well, it's going to keep on falling if you don't change your attitude. But there's a lot more we can say about this. Inshallah, we will continue solutions and strategies going forward at the next MAP 5 or somewhere along the line.
Okay.
at the same station, inshallah.
Okay. Brother Muhammad Sharif, I think he was trying to say something about Brother Wahid. I'm not sure. So you want to unmute yourself, Brother Muhammad Sharif, and you want to share with us what you want to say? Muhammad Sharif, you want to unmute yourself? You're on mute. You want to unmute yourself, Muhammad Sharif? Now we can't. We can't hear you, Brother Muhammad. You have to unmute yourself. You were trying to speak a few minutes ago. Okay. I guess it was not to be.
Come back next week. Same. Oh, there he is, Brother Muhammad.
He's there, but he's still muted.
Oh,
I'm gonna say that everything both of you said, I think is good. I just want to tell you that there's an old thing that I know when I was growing up. They won't, they won't stop unless we tell them to stop. And they won't turn in the direction we need them to go in unless we tell them to turn.
mm.
And that's, my grandmother used to say that you can't wait for people to get this conscience because they won't get it. We have to push that. So I think that that's my frustration. We push so many other things. We were pushing, the destruction of Gaza. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. We thought this, so people thought the solution was, I won't say we, because it wasn't me, was okay, well, we got to get rid of the current president and the vice president who was under that president because they're killing people in Gaza. How does that work out for us? Because now we have a president who says Israel can do whatever they feel like doing. And not only are they killing there, they're killing all over Northern Africa and the Middle East. We have to be the ones to say enough is enough. We're not having it anymore. And if we're not willing to do that until we have we're never going to get 100% clarity. I just am convinced of that because by the time you start to get clarity, it's shifted. It's already changed. Now you got to catch up again. Or now you got to catch up again. Certain things I think require the question you guys asked earlier about the challenges to establishing, that global coordination. I believe it takes time and it takes patience. I don't believe fighting for humanity requires that level of patience time. We have to do it before we don't have anything to fight for. And we're seeing that in like Gaza and Yemen and Somalia and Sudan and all over South America, right? And Central America. We're seeing this destruction, all of those we think are called social ills that we say we don't like, whether it's white flight from our cities, or drugs, or guns, or too many taxes, or unemployment rates high, and houselessness, and suicides, and going back to days of segregation, and aggravated wars, and humiliating people for the purpose of just dehumanizing them. All of that falls on us. It doesn't fall on one of us, it falls on the collective of us because we are so caught up in what I want, what I need, rather than what do we need? Because what I need or what I want, if it was only about me, I can go get it. But we don't live on islands, and we don't live where we have to be so patient that we're sacrificed. We basically deem some people as disposable, as sacrificial, because we are not willing to just say enough is enough. And every time I see one of those babies, I can't. I don't have patience for that. I just don't. Maybe God's still working with me, but I have no patience for that. I just don't.
Sister Cheryl, as the kids say, I feel you. I'm going to say this and I'm going to be quiet. I think Margaret Mead made the best statement when she did her study and concluded that It only takes a small group of people with the same intent to change the world. You don't need everybody. In fact, at the convention I was at yesterday downtown, they asked me to give remarks, and some people were disappointed because you only had about 150 people there. They wanted the whole place to be filled. And I said, listen, most of you are Christians. Do you remember someone that only had 12 people working with him and he changed a lot of the world today? And I remember somebody had 2 people with him, Moses and Aaron. They made an impact. Then there's a third person. We got to lift him up. He was in a cave hiding with his best friend. 2 people. But look at the impact of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in the world today. So don't ever get lost in numbers. Lift up the sincere ones and go to work and quit making excuses. I'm finished. I'm done, as my sister says.
So Muhammad
Okay.
Sharif has unmuted himself. So go ahead, Brother Muhammad.
Okay.
Brother Muhammad, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Brother
Brother
Muhammad?
Muhammad, please speak. We got okay.
We just lost him.
We just lost him. All
I
right.
just
Allah
lost him
did not
again.
intend for us to hear what he got to say, but inshallah, the next time, like you said, Brother Fenner.
All right.
All right. Right. So any last words before I get us out?
All right. Well, let's just remind ourselves how important it is to be concerned about each other genuinely, to care for each other genuinely, and to live the label we have that identifies us as brothers and sisters in the faith, traveling down the same road, trying to do our best to make it to the destiny. So we thank everyone for being a part of this discussion. Very vibrant, very passionate, very thoughtful. And inshallah, we'll be back again next Monday, same time on Map 5. We invite you to join us. Sister Cheryl?
Thank you very much. Okay, Brother Muhammad, we're getting ready to close out, but we don't want to leave you out. But you got to unmute and speak your piece.
Brother
Okay, you put your
Muhammad,
hand down, but you didn't push unmute.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me now?
yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yep. Please pardon me for interrupting the way I did, but anyway, I had called him, man, what he had. He said he had tried to make contact with you, Brother Fleming, but he didn't get back to him. And I gave him the number to call in. What we number, the 885 number. But he said he called
Yes.
that number, but it wouldn't let him in. It says not. It's too many numbers or something. It's 11
Yeah.
numbers, but he said it wouldn't let him get in.
Yeah. I texted him information this morning again, the link to the program and also the passcode. So the numbers, I don't know why it's not working for him. We'll have a chance to come back on the program, inshallah. He's still an invited guest. We'll bring him back on. I'll walk him through the steps. My daughter
Okay.
also works at Duke University, so I'll tell her to show him the steps if necessary.
Okay, good. All right. I thought he said
Right.
he had an announcement to make. I didn't know if he is going to make that announcement today or right up on us or something like that. So that's why I tried to contact him.
We
Yes, sir. Yeah,
appreciate
he's
you
going to have a
sharing
major
that.
program on the 30th of October in the area. He wants to talk about that program that he's helping to develop. So we have a little time, but we'll get him back on to talk about the program, inshallah.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you for
Thank
Yes,
trying
you.
sir.
to
Please
reach.
pardon me for my interruption. Please.
No, well, thank you for trying to.
Yes.
With that, we hope it's you to honor to labor from the fields to hospitality to the home to our governance structures, the local, state, and federal level. Some of them not laboring too much, so be wise on which ones you choose to honor. And but especially those who grow our food, harvest our food, pick our food, sell our food, serve our food, cook our food, who make sure we have clean air, and most importantly, clean water. Can't live without the water.
Mm.
Our healthcare workers, our first responders, again, not all of them be choicy. And know that it's all of this is inextricably linked to what we do. To be powerful, to be prayerful, to be philanthropic, and to try and do something for someone without the expectation of recognition or a pat on the back or a spotlight. Just do it for the pure humanity. I'm going to keep using it, of it. And it is not only the right thing to do, it is the THE thing to do. We will see you back here, inshallah, next Monday with another one of these thought-provoking programs. And at 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock on that East Coast, and
Well, the sun
10 o'clock,
rises.
10 o'clock on the West Coast where the sun sets.
Oh,
Inshallah.
man.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
And with that, I'm going to say Assalamu alaikum, and
It's a wrap.
that's a wrap.
Walaikum assalam.
That's it.
Thank you for joining.